Welcome back to StoryPath English, my friends. I am so truly happy to see you again. Please, find a very comfortable place to sit. Lean back, let your shoulders drop, take a deep, slow breath. Imagine we are sitting together once more by our warm, glowing campfire. The orange flames are dancing against the dark night sky, and the dry wood is crackling softly, sending tiny sparks upward toward the stars. Tonight, the air around us feels different. It is not the soft, humid air of the jungle, nor the salty air of the sea. It feels thin, crisp, and cold, like the air at the very top of a mountain peak. If you look up, the stars are so bright and so close that you feel you could reach out and touch them. Tonight, I want to tell you a story about a place that was hidden from the world for 400 years. It is a story about a city that sits so high in the sky that the clouds move through its streets like silent ghosts. It is a story about incredible human strength, a deep connection to the sun, and a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. This is the story of Machu Picchu, the lost city of the Incas. To begin our journey, we must travel back in time to the year 1911. Imagine a young American explorer named Hiram Bingham. He is deep in the Andes Mountains of Peru. The landscape here is magnificent but terrifying. All around are giant green peaks that look like the jagged teeth of the earth. The jungle below is a thick, tangled mess of green vines, biting insects, and roaring rivers. Hiram has been walking for weeks. His clothes are torn. His skin is burned by the sun, and his boots are heavy with the mud of 1,000 miles. He is looking for a legend. He has heard whispers of a secret city made of white stone, hidden where only the eagles fly, a place the Spanish conquerors never found. One morning, a heavy white mist covers the mountain like a thick blanket. You can barely see your own hands. Hiram meets a small boy, a local child who lives on the mountain. The boy points upward into the clouds and says, "I know a place. It is high. It is very high." They begin to climb. The path is nothing more than a narrow ledge of rock. One wrong step would mean falling thousands of feet into the white water of the Urubamba River below. Hiram's heart is pounding against his ribs. His lungs ache because there is so little oxygen in the air. Suddenly, as they reach a high ridge, the wind blows. The mist begins to clear, parting like a giant silk curtain in a theater. Hiram wipes the sweat from his eyes, and there, spread out before him, is something that seems impossible. A city of gray granite stone, perfectly carved, sitting on a narrow bridge of land between two massive mountain peaks. There are hundreds of stone buildings, grand temples, and beautiful green terraces that look like giant stairs for a titan, but there are no people. There is no smoke from cooking fires. There is only the absolute silence of the mountains, broken by the whistling wind. Hiram Bingham thinks he has found a lost kingdom. In that moment, he feels like he has stepped out of the real world and into a dream. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever discovered something so beautiful that it made you stop and stare in silence? This was the rediscovery of Machu Picchu. But who built this miracle in the clouds? To understand that, we must look at the incredible people who called themselves the Incas. They didn't call themselves a civilization. They called themselves the children of the Sunday. At the height of their power, the Incas ruled over 12 million people across a massive empire. They were masters of the earth, but they faced a challenge that would scare even our modern builders. They lived in a land of vertical cliffs and constant earthquakes. They had no iron tools to cut the rock. They had no wheels to move heavy objects. They had no horses or cows to pull weight. And yet, they built Machu Picchu. They moved giant stones, some weighing more than 20 tons, up the sides of mountains that are almost impossible to climb even with modern equipment. How did they do it? Even today, our best scientists and engineers stand in the ruins and shake their heads in wonder. The Incas used a special technique that we now call Inca masonry. They carved each stone so perfectly, with so many angles, that they fit together like a giant three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. They used no cement. They used no glue. They used no mud. If you stand in Machu Picchu today, you can try to slide a thin knife or even a piece of paper between two giant stones, but you will fail. The join is too perfect. And here is the real magic. Because they used no glue, the buildings are earthquake-proof. When the ground shakes, the stones dance. They vibrate and move slightly. But because they fit together so perfectly, they always fall back into exactly the same place when the shaking stops. The Incas did not try to fight the mountain. They learned to move with it. They made the earth their partner. My friends, imagine the patience this required. Imagine spending months or even years carving just one single stone until it fit perfectly against its neighbor. This was not just a construction project. It was a form of worship. It was an act of deep respect for the stone and the spirits they believed lived inside the rock. But why? Why build a city so high, so far away from everything? This is the heart of the mystery. Was it a fortress to hide from enemies? Probably not, as there are no large walls. Was it a secret school for priests? Or perhaps it was a sacred palace for the great Inca emperor Pachacuti. Imagine the emperor leaving the busy, crowded streets of the capital city, Cusco. He would travel for days on a litter carried by his servants. He would arrive here, walk through the stone gates, and look out over the endless peaks. He would feel like he was sitting in the lap of the gods. To the Incas, the mountains were alive. They called them apus, or mountain spirits. By living at Machu Picchu, the emperor was living among the ghosts of his ancestors and the spirits of the earth. Life in Machu Picchu was a masterpiece of balance. The Incas carved hundreds of green terraces into the mountainside. These looked like giant green steps. They were a genius invention. They stopped the mountain from washing away during the heavy tropical rains, and they created different mini-climates. At the top, it was cool enough for potatoes. At the bottom, it was warm enough for corn. The Incas were also masters of water. They built a stone canal that brought fresh water from a spring high above, flowing through the city in 16 different fountains. Even today, 500 years later, that water still flows. If you sit quietly in the ruins, you can hear the soft, musical heartbeat of the city, the sound of water running through ancient stone. The most sacred part of the city is a strange, beautifully carved stone called the Intihuatana. In the Inca language, this means the hitching post of the Sunday. The Incas were expert astronomers. They watched the sun every single day. They believed that on the winter solstice, the shortest, darkest day of the year, the sun was trying to fly away from the earth. They held a massive, emotional ceremony to tie the sun to the stone, to pull it back and make the days long and warm again. Have you ever felt a moment of such perfect happiness that you wanted to tie it down? Have you ever wanted to stop the sun from setting on a beautiful day? That is what the Incas were doing. They were trying to hold on to the light. They were trying to keep their world safe through their faith and their connection to the sky. But then, around the year 1530, the music of the city stopped. The people simply walked away. They left their stone houses. They left their tools in the fields. They left their temples. The cooking fires went out, and the streets became silent. Why? This is the most haunting part of the story. We know that the Spanish conquerors arrived in Peru at that time. They brought war, and they brought an invisible enemy, smallpox. This disease traveled faster than any army. But the strangest thing is that the Spanish never found Machu Picchu. They destroyed almost every other Inca city, but they never saw the secret path up this mountain. Machu Picchu remained an invisible city. So why was it abandoned? Perhaps a sickness reached the city and killed many people, causing the survivors to flee in terror. Perhaps there was a long drought and the sacred spring stopped flowing. Or perhaps when the emperor died, the soul of the city died with him. Whatever the reason, the jungle began to grow over the stone. Thick green vines covered the windows. Trees grew through the thatched roofs. For 400 long years, the city slept in total silence, protected by the mountain mist and the deep green forest. It became a ghost story told by local farmers, a legend of a city in the clouds that no one could find until Hiram Bingham arrived. When we stand in Machu Picchu today, we are reminded of the power of the human spirit. The Incas had no written language. They left no books, no letters, and no diaries. They spoke to us through stone instead of words. Machu Picchu is a giant book made of granite, and we are still learning how to read its pages. It tells us that even without modern technology, even in the most difficult places on Earth, we can build something that touches the sky. It reminds us that our work can live long after our names are forgotten. The people who carved those stones are gone, but their dream is still standing, proud and beautiful, among the clouds. As we sit by our campfire tonight and the flames burn lower, I want you to think about the Machu Picchu in your own life. What are the giant dreams you are trying to build? What are the steep mountains you are trying to climb? The story of the lost city shows us that the climb is difficult and the air may be thin, but the view from the top is worth every drop of sweat. The Incas believed the sun would always return if they stayed faithful. As you learn English or as you chase your own goals, remember the dance of the stones. Be strong, but be flexible. Fit yourself into your challenges with patience and care. And most importantly, never stop looking toward the light. The fire is turning to red coals now, my friends. I want to thank you for sitting with me and traveling to the top of the Andes tonight. I hope that when you close your eyes, you can imagine yourself standing on that ridge, feeling the cool mountain mist on your face, and hearing the ancient whisper of the wind through the stones. Tell me in the comments, if you could discover a lost city anywhere deep in the ocean, in the center of a desert, or even on another planet, what would it look like? I love hearing your stories and your dreams. If you enjoyed this journey on StoryPath English, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support is the fuel that keeps our campfire burning and allows me to keep telling these stories for you. See you in the next story, my friends. Sleep well and keep your heart in the clouds. Checkmate. Oh, wait, that was the last story. Let's just say, until next time.